Turning it on?
Yeah.
Okay, Well, I move my ice cream.
Okay.
Want to start over again?
Yeah, that would be good.
Start from the beginning?
Yep.
Okay. Where were you born and when? I was born in the city of Boston in 1923. Why did your parents decide to name you as they did? My father, who was raised in Michigan, had a dear friend who had a son by the name of Willard, and he drowned when he was 2 years old. And so my father named me after that young boy, Willard. That's how I got the name, Willard. Of course, my middle name is Pine, which is from my mother's side of the family because her maiden name was Pine. Is that hearing me okay?
Probably.
Huh?
It's
Okay, good.
it's got a good
Okay. How many siblings do you have? I have 2 brothers, and we always got along great. They're just great guys. We got along great when we were kids. We got along great growing up, and we get along great today. We're just a great family. And I love them both. Just great guys.
You're really close.
Huh?
You're really close knit.
Very close-knit. Yeah, very close. What was it like growing up? What was it like growing up where you did? What do you mean? What did we do?
What'd you do, or I don't know.
Well,
What was life like?
We grew up in a neighborhood where kids at that time were not into automobiles. They didn't have automobiles, and so we played sports. And that sort of ties in with the next question, which says, do you have a favorite childhood game? Well, we played a lot of ice hockey, and we played a lot of baseball. And then we worked a little bit after school. My older brother had a paper route. I sold magazines from door to door, which was acceptable back then because things were not mail order. Was there a chore you always hated doing? Well, I don't think so. We just accepted the fact that there were chores that had to be done. As an example, back then most of the homes were fueled with coal or coke, and ashes had to be taken out once a week. And a barrel full of ashes is heavy.
Yeah.
And if there was something we disliked, I guess it would be taking those ashes out. But other than that, no. Was there a chore? What did you consider to be the most inventions of your lifetime?
The most important. What do you consider to be the most important invention?
What do you consider to be the most important? Yeah. Well, I think obviously television, computers. I would say the development of electronics. That's a good way to put it.
Yeah.
I would say that was the most important. Secondly, there were certain certain items that progressed that were important. For instance, the automobile, the airplane. During my lifetime, I flew on one of the first commercial jet airliners. That was very important.
What kind of, or what was the company of the airline?
What company flew the airline in? American Airlines. We were living in New York at the time, and American Airlines had the first 707. The first jets were called 707s built by Boeing. Shortly after that, Douglas Aircraft came out with a plane called the DC-8 to compete. But I used to fly, I had a plant in California, and even though we lived in New York. I worked for the same company, they owned this plant in California. And I would fly out to Los Angeles because their first flight was from LaGuardia in New York to Los Angeles, which is called LAX. So it would be flight number 1 going west, it would be flight number 2 coming east. Those are the only 2 flights. And
long flight.
I just missed out on something, and that is for the first month, they gave everybody plaques and mementos of flight number 1 going to California. I flew out in the 5th week, and I said to the stewardess, "Where's all this good stuff?" She said, "You missed it by a week."
Yeah.
But there are other things, I'm sure, but that's what strikes me. Do you ever remember not having enough food to eat because times were hard for your family? No, because my father always had a job. Back during the Depression, my father was a milkman. They delivered milk to the homes, and of course, people did not stop receiving milk. So he was always a milkman, and he progressed up from there to where he became a branch manager of the milk company. He did for a family in the Depression, just a regular family. During the Depression, he did very well for his family.
Yeah.
He was a real family man. As a child, what did you want to be when you grew up? I wasn't sure, but I always thought I wanted to be an accountant. And so I went to accounting school. And from that, I went into salesmanship, but the accounting school background, because it's financial and business yesterday, today, it's a numbers game.
Yeah.
You've got to understand finances, What was your first job? My first job at the age of 16, as I mentioned before, I didn't play sports in high school because I worked after school at the A&P, and I was a bag boy. I bagged groceries at the A&P for 15 cents an hour. But I want you to know how good I am, Matthew, because after I'd worked there a couple of years, they raised my pay to 25 cents. How did you decide on your career? Well, it evolved, and I was very fortunate. I started out as a salesman, without going into all of the companies that I worked for. I started out as a salesman. I have and was very fortunate to have been very good at selling. And selling is not a case of